Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making some budget-friendly recipes. If you're anything like me, then you need a little bit of recovery time after the holidays, but still be able to enjoy some really good meals. So today I have 4 budget-friendly recipes for you. I hope you enjoy. Let's go ahead and get started. Starting today, we're going to make these super soft meatballs, and I'll show you how I serve them on this day. I started by preheating my oven to 400 degrees, and then on my cutting board I chopped up half of a yellow onion, making sure to get that chopped up super fine. Now into this bowl I'm going to add about 3/4 of a cup of milk, and then 1 egg. And before doing anything else, I'm just going to whisk those together. Next, I'm adding in a 1/2 cup of Italian breadcrumbs, 1 tablespoon of parsley, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Again, I'm going to take that whisk and get that combined, and this is going to sit for 10 minutes before we do anything else. As you can see, those breadcrumbs absorbed all that milk, and it's now a very thick mixture. To the bowl, I'm also adding in 1/3 cup of Parmesan cheese. I'm just using the shaker spaghetti grated Parmesan cheese. The onion we chopped up, 1 heaping tablespoon of minced garlic, and 1 pound of ground beef. I believe this ground beef was 85/15. Then using my hand, I'm going to get this mixed together until it is just combined. For these meatballs, I like to roll them up pretty large. They will shrink just a little bit, but keeping them large is just part of what makes this recipe so good, I feel like. So I went ahead and rolled those into 12 large meatballs. I like to cook them on this little rack, that way the drippings can go straight down onto the foil and they're not soaked in grease. These will bake in your oven for right around 20 to 25 minutes, or until they're cooked all the way through the center. While those are in the oven, I'm going to start warming up my sauce. So into this pan, I added in 1 jar of spaghetti sauce. Into the sauce, I do like to add just a little bit more garlic and some red pepper flakes. That is optional though, you definitely don't have to do that. Like I said, I'm just going to let this heat up until my meatballs are done. And this is what those meatballs look like coming out of the oven. I transferred them all over into that sauce and got it mixed together. Now at this point, you can choose however you want to serve these. You can have these right on top of some spaghetti noodles. On this specific day, my plan was to do meatball subs. However, as you can see, the buns that I got from the Walmart bakery were really flat, so I actually ended up deciding just to make these into meatball boats. I flipped them upside down and then added 3 of those nice big meatballs to each one. And then you can add your cheese. I'm just using some mozzarella slices to keep this a little bit cleaner, but you can also use shredded. And then I put these back in my oven for 5 more minutes and then turn broil on for about 1 minute to get that nice crispy top there. This is what it looked like when it was all done on my plate. I added some parsley over the top just to finish it off. These are so good and very filling. And here's a little video of what the meatballs look like inside. I actually just ate mine on the plate with some broccoli and avoided the bun, but this is what they look like. They're nice and soft, really tender. We really love these meatballs. Now we're gonna make these oven-baked chicken kebabs. This is a great way to stretch out your chicken if you're trying to save a little bit of money on meat. For these kebabs, I'm choosing to use some red onion, and I'm making sure to chop those in larger pieces. I also have 1 green bell pepper, 1 yellow squash, and I'm just cutting the larger pieces in half, that way they're not so big, 1 red bell pepper, and then some mushrooms that I just sliced in half. For the chicken, I did go ahead and cut up 2 chicken breasts because I thought one looked a little bit small. But honestly, I had some left over. You could really get away with just 1 large chicken breast for these. You will also need a pack of these little skewers. You can get these at Walmart. They're very, very inexpensive, and I've had the same package of mine forever just because there's only 2 of us, and I only make 4 or 5 of these at a time. So you can add all of this on however you want to. For myself, I love everything that's here on the cutting board right now. For my husband, as we know, he is super picky and he does not like the yellow squash, but he'll eat everything else. So I went ahead and just filled those up and made sure to put the yellow squash only on mine. About 2 hours prior to doing this, I actually put my wood skewers in a bowl of water and let those soak, that way they wouldn't burn in my oven. I added these onto a baking sheet lined with some aluminum foil, and then into this little bowl right here I have about half a stick of butter, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of oregano, half a teaspoon of parsley, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I just stuck that in my microwave for about 20 seconds to melt the butter, and I got it mixed together. Now I'm just brushing that over each one of these, making sure to try to push it in between everything, and then I'm going to flip them over and repeat the same thing on the opposite side until the butter is all gone. I stuck these in the oven for 15 minutes, and at this point, I'm pulling them back out of the oven to flip them over. They went back in the oven for about 5 more minutes, and then I turned broil on for 2 to 3 minutes just to kind of crisp up the edges on these things. You could really turn broil on for longer if you want these to get a lot more charred. I know some people really love when they get really charred. I tried not to get them overly dark, that way they would still look nice and colorful. But this is what they look like in the end, and I just served them with some cheesy rice. This was a great way to have a summer meal, but cooked in the oven. You do not have to use a grill for these. However, if you do like to grill and it is warm where you live like it is where I live, you can always cook these on the grill or even in the air fryer. Next up, we are making this roasted broccoli and ricotta pasta. I went ahead and preheated my oven to 400 degrees. To begin, I have 1 head of broccoli. I'm just taking my knife and cutting off the tops of the broccoli. And then I'm also going to cut these into smaller bite-sized pieces. Once those are cut up, I'm adding them onto a baking sheet that I just sprayed with a little bit of avocado oil. And then over the top of these, I am going to spray them again with that avocado oil and then season them lightly with garlic powder, pepper, and salt. I did not measure any of these seasonings, I just gave it a light sprinkle over the top. This is going into the oven to bake for right around 15 to 20 minutes. Just be sure to keep an eye on the broccoli. You can cook it until it is just fork tender, or you can cook it a little longer and get the edges a little bit crispy. Now I'm just cutting up 1 chicken breast into bite-sized pieces. And then while the broccoli is cooking in the oven, I did go ahead and start 8 ounces of this bow tie pasta. And now into this skillet, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of butter and about a tablespoon of olive oil. I'm going to let those heat up and then add that chicken right in there. Again, with the same seasonings, I'm using salt, pepper, and garlic powder. I'm not really measuring at this point. I'm honestly just trying to give them a bit of flavor to start off with. Once the chicken is fully cooked, I'm going to remove it out of the skillet As you can see, it left behind a lot of good flavor in there, and then I'm adding in 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. This garlic will cook in here by itself for about 30 seconds, and then you're going to want to add in 1 cup of ricotta cheese. Give that a good mix to combine that with the garlic to prevent the garlic from burning, and also scrape the bottom. A lot of that flavor is going to come off into that ricotta cheese. Then add in a 1/2 cup of milk, a few shakes of salt and pepper, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now I'm just going to mix this together over a medium heat. Let that ricotta kind of thin out, and once you notice the sauce is bubbling a little bit, you can go ahead and add in a 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. If you don't have shredded, you can also use the grated Parmesan that you put on spaghetti. That'll be fine. Just make sure it all melts in here. Once that's nice and hot and the cheese is all melted, go ahead and add your broccoli in, the chicken, and the cooked pasta. Here's what my finished plate looked like when it was all done. I just added some red pepper flakes over the top, and I would compare this to almost like an Alfredo sauce, just a little bit thicker. I was really skeptical if my husband would eat this, but he did. He just picked the broccoli out and it was all good. But overall, we really like this meal. Up next is another really tasty meal. We are making some homemade cheesy beefy taquitos. I preheated my oven to 375 degrees. Into my pan, I started by adding in 1 pound of ground beef. I was using a pretty lean ground beef, so after cooking this, there was not much grease for me to drain, but if there is a lot of grease, be sure to drain that off. Then I'm adding in 1 package of taco seasoning. The taco seasoning packet will tell you to add water, but do not do that for this recipe. Next, I'm adding in a 1/2 cup of sour cream, 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, and another 1/2 cup of salsa. Get this all mixed together until the cream cheese has melted down and combined well. And at that point, you'll want to add in 1 cup of shredded cheese. Today, I'm just using a Mexican blend style cheese. Last time I actually used a shredded cheddar habanero cheese, and that was phenomenal in here. It was very spicy, but so good. So you can really use any type of cheese that you like. As you can see, I have a baking sheet here I just lined with some parchment paper. And then I also have some corn tortillas. Before starting with these corn tortillas, you will want to warm them up so that they are nice and flexible. I just stick mine in the microwave for 20 to 30 seconds. And then add about 3 tablespoons of filling into each one of these. Roll them up and stick them onto your baking sheet. Try to give them a little bit of room in between each one if you can. Some of them will crack, it's bound to happen. It's no big deal though, they still turn out tasting great. Over the top, I did go ahead and spray them with some avocado oil to help them crisp up a little bit. And then these went into my oven for 20 to 25 minutes or until they are crispy and turning a golden color. Here's what my plate looked like in the end. I made some Mexican rice over on the side there to go along with this. And then I like to dip mine in salsa and sour cream. Sometimes I'll buy nacho cheese, but that is a little expensive, so I just stuck to the basics today. My husband has mentioned this is his favorite taquito recipe that I have made so far, but overall this meal still turns out really good and it's still pretty budget friendly. Thank you so much for watching today. If you made it all the way to the end, please don't forget to leave your flour down in the comments below so that I know you did. And I will see you guys back here on Sunday. Bye!